In this video, the late Nabeel Qureshi talks about Muslims that asked him to consider Islam again. Now, if you are not familiar with Nabeel Qureshi, he is a Muslim. He was a Muslim that converted to the Christian faith after a journey of studying the Quran and studying the books of Christianity, the Bible, and after just being on this journey of seeking truth, he ended up converting to Christianity. If you have not read his book, I have read his book a few times. His book is called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. I recommend that book for you to read. It's just a great book. But now in this short video, he will share from his side. At least this is a video about him sharing about his experience with Muslims that asked him to consider Islam again. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
When I turn my eyes towards Islam and I say, okay, and again, I'm doing this because people have asked me to, Muslims have asked me to, they say, now consider Islam once again. I'm telling you, I consider it regularly, but I cannot find a good reason to think that Muhammad is a prophet or that the Quran is the word of Allah. I've considered this over and over and over again. When it comes to Muhammad's life, he's not the kind of person that I would wish to follow. Once I've studied his life, now if you only hear stories about him in the mosque, I could see why you'd want to follow him. But when you read his stories from the books of Hadith, from the books of Sirah, you have to walk away wondering, why would I follow this man as a prophet?
Very strong point here. When you just go by hearsay, what people say about Muhammad, about Islam, you will have that impression that no, this is a religion of peace. This is a good religion for me to follow. But when you go down and you sit yourself down and study and read Islamic sources like the Quran, like the Hadiths, that surahs that he was referring to, you will come to a different conclusion if you just have the attitude of an objective reader. When you consider these primary sources of Islam.
Some people say that his character is one of prophets. I don't see that. If you cherry pick, if you pick only the good stories, I could see that, but that's not all that's there. There's about a lot of bad stories as well. A lot of stories that I would want.
This is also something I noticed, that when it comes to having a good perspective about Muhammad, then the reality is that you have to cherry pick. You have to just take some good parts and then just hide all the bad parts and not look at the negative things that the Hadiths and the Quran says about Muhammad. And it's the same thing that Muslims do when it comes to the Bible. When how they read the Bible, they will take certain verses that speaks, for example, about the humanity of Jesus, and then they will read because they like it, because they according to them, they just want to affirm the humanity of Jesus, that Jesus was a man. But because they don't like the teaching that and the reality and the truth that Jesus is God himself also, therefore they just reject all those Bible parts that confirm the deity of Christ. And this is the same what many other cults do. For example, the Jehovah's Witnesses and many other people that call themselves Christians, they do the exact same thing. Let's continue.
To have nothing to do with. Same thing with the Quran. When it comes to some beautiful things in the Quran, sure, there are some beautiful things in the Quran. To deny it would be problematic. But there's a lot of not beautiful things in the Quran too. For example, the beating of wives, which is sanctioned in chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, ayah 34. Or even worse, the raping of female captives. Same surah, Surah An-Nisa, verse 24. And that's all backed up by hadith as well. We know that Muhammad hit Aisha.
Now, dear listeners, you and viewers, friends and family, you may think that this guy doesn't know what he talked about. But he is a devout Muslim. That's why I said go read his the writings concerning his journey in the book Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. And you will see his upbringing from the get-go, from his very birth. He was devout Muslim. He is a Qureshi. If you don't know what is Qureshi, read that book and you will find out. And then you will not be ignorant and say some ignorant stuff like, no, Nabeel Qureshi doesn't know what he talks about. This is a Muslim. He was a Muslim. He was deeply engraved in the Islamic religion. So many people that are ignorant of who he is and his background, they will say a lot of false things concerning him. But let's continue.
On the chest, causing her pain. We know that Abu Bakr had punched Aisha in the face before, and we know that the raping of female captives is allowed according to the hadith. Look, this is just scratching the surface. This is a 10-minute video where I was trying to give reasons for why I am choosing the path I'm choosing. I don't want to go into all the details, but I just gotta say, when I study the Quran, when I study Muhammad's life, I find no reason to become a Muslim. And when I study Jesus' life, I find reason after reason after reason to become Christian.
That's just a very awesome thing to say. I left Islam because I studied Muhammad's life. I accepted the gospel because I studied Jesus' life. So just leaving some personal religion that you followed from your birth does not necessarily mean that you will end up with Christ and that you will automatically turn to Christ. No, you can leave Islam and become atheist. But this is where Nabeel Qureshi made that statement. The reason he left Islam was because of he personally studied the life of Muhammad. He studied authentic primary sources concerning Muhammad. That's why he left Islam. And he also said that he turned to Christianity and accepted the gospel because he studied the life of Jesus according to the primary sources concerning the Jesus and the life of Jesus. Thank you for listening, and do well to subscribe, like, and comment what you think about this. If you have read the book from Nabeel Qureshi, Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, please tell me in the comments what do you think of that book. From my side, Shalom.